Welcome to the Greatness Garage Podcast, the place where small businesses get big answers. I'm your host, Brad Borkhuis, founder of Epitome Coaching and Consulting, and this is the Greatness Garage. Welcome, everyone, back to the Greatness Garage. We're so excited to have you back. I am blessed today to have my good friend, Mr. Kim Sawyer. He's just a wealth of knowledge. He's a coach that I've used and is just extremely knowledgeable. Kim, welcome to the Greatness Garage.
Good to be here, Brad. And I love the concept of greatness. The name is awesome because part of what I'm up to is seeing and bringing out the greatness in all the people I work with. And I know that's what you do as well.
Awesome. Yeah, right. It is such it is a blessing for us, isn't it, to be on that journey to help people see what is possible for them and what is great in their world. So introduce yourself to the Greatness Garage. Tell them a little bit about yourself.
Well, um, I've journeyed through multiple careers. Learned a lot along the way, and everything I've done in the past has led me to where I am now. I began in my 20s with a decade of adventure, which took many, many forms, some of them extremely positive and some of them not so much. Um, then I spent a decade in the military, and that was an awesome experience in all sorts of ways, and came back and moved into a career as an entrepreneur. During which time I started and grew and sold a business. Then I launched a much bigger business with other people's money. And unfortunately, that one came down with the World Trade Center when 9/11 happened. We lost our financing. And I thought at that point I was ready to try something simpler. So I began consulting, moved into the organizational development, people side of business consulting, found coaching early in the 2000s when it was just becoming a service in business. Loved it. Signed up for Coach U, the first coaching school, and I've never looked back since. In one form or another, I have been and will be coaching as long as I'm working. This is my thing.
That's so awesome. Yeah, I've been coaching since 2015 and I've been doing it a long time. And you've been coaching since 2000. Like, how long have you been coaching?
Um, I coached my first paying client in 2002.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
20, that's so yeah, so you've been here and doing this quite a while. So I'd love so tell, I always love to see what people are up to and people are into. What are you up to? What's on your kind of tickling your fancy now and what's kind of got you to your focus?
Well, the adventurer, the soldier, the entrepreneur in me um, has never gone away as I've moved into careers. And part of what I talk to my clients about is bring the best of everything in the past into what I do next. And that helps me find it. And so over the last 20 years, as I've been coaching, the entrepreneur in me has been watching what's going on in the industry, the market, and in my own business. And I've identified some trends that have inspired me to reconfigure and relaunch what I do in an entirely new form. So I've been moving away from selling coaching services and into developing a program that's a reflection of everything I've built in my coaching so far and bringing that to market. So I'm now selling a program
That's
rather than
awesome.
an hour of
Yeah.
service, and super excited about it. I'm actually able to create business plans, strategy, pull together people, parts and pieces like I did back in my previous career, but I'm doing it in the field I love. So it's a super
Yeah.
exciting opportunity.
Yeah, what an opportunity to bring all those things to fruition and really kind of see it. So what's it called? Do we get to know what the program is? What's the yeah.
Sure. So as a coach over time, it's become clear to me that my job is to help people identify what they're capable of, optimize the use of it in what they're up to, and create as much value as they possibly can in what they're trying to accomplish. Now, I've built many tools along the way in various forms, but over the last few years, I've noticed how they all are merging and coalescing into a common theme. And oddly enough, when I started my business, I gave it the name the wealth source, the wealth
Mm,
source. I wasn't sure quite why, other than I felt like the source of the wealth we create is inside. And by working on my
yeah.
ability to create wealth, I will be better at creating wealth as I engage in the world. Well, I'm now seeing that everything I've done so far, all the tools and concepts I've built, all fit together into an entire approach to life that's about generating wealth in every area of my life, the same way I would generate financial wealth, and managing what it is I want to create in my life the same way an investor would manage their financial portfolio. And I call it walk on wealthier. And I've
I
built an
love it.
entire
Love it.
system around it. It's called the WOW program. And I built a group coaching program that I walk people through step by step, adopting that frame of reference, that approach to life, and all of the tools they need so they can manage the ultimate value of their life portfolio.
That's cool. That's so cool. Yeah, I think that that's going to provide so much value for someone. And I love your interpretation of the word wealth and the way in which it creates so much value within our lives. So, well, awesome. Well, I think that's going to be a foundation, and your experience is going to be a great foundation for a great podcast today. So we're excited. So let's jump into it. So the first segment we always start out with is I wish I would have, and I can't wait to hear what you come up with. So Kim, take it away. I wish I would have.
So my answer to that question has been my journey of actually questioning the question.
Mm.
Because
Oh, I like this one.
as I look back across my life, the further I've gone, the less I've asked myself that question, and the harder it is to identify things I would have done differently or should have done
Hmm.
differently. Um, Early on, sure, I might have wanted to end my adventures a little sooner and get a launch into my career a little sooner.
Yeah,
Um, but ultimately, I wasn't ready to do that until I'd been through what I'd been through in my first
yeah.
decade. And then um, the military was awesome. Um, I don't know that I would have done much differently there. Um, I really don't, because that whole experience led me to be ready to launch a business as my
Hmm.
next
Hmm.
career. Now, maybe I used to tell myself I should have stepped out of that business and sold it earlier. I hung on to it
Hmm.
maybe a little too long. Um, and I lost the opportunity as a consequence.
Yeah,
When I launched my
yeah,
second business, I might not have had 211 drop in my lap if I started Cafe Exec a few years earlier. But I wasn't in a position knowledge wise. I graduated from the entrepreneur program at U of H. My partner and I were renegotiating. I wouldn't have been ready to make that leap until I was there.
yeah,
Everything had to
yeah.
be in place. So each step along the way, I'm realizing that everything that happened and everything I did prepared me for the next thing. And actually, the next thing might not have even come my way
Right,
if I
right.
hadn't done things exactly as I did them. So today, my job is, and it's part of the WOW program, the WOW perspective is whatever I do and whatever I happen has happened in my world got me here now.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
how do I stand here and look at what's next without being impeded by what's happened in the past? Here I am. What's next?
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I think too sometimes, when looking at those ones, um, you know, as you're saying, kind of the wish you would have almost is kind of picked up along the way in those lessons that you kind of apply to that next venture, right? So when you kind of, why do you think again, looking back historically, it's almost easier to say, oh, there was a reason for it. Why do you think sitting in the moment, um, you didn't transition and you didn't kind of sell that first business first? What do you think was showing up for you at the moment?
comfortability.
Mm,
I knew the business.
that,
I
oh,
built
that's
the
great.
business. I
Yep.
knew how to run it. My days were smooth. I had a nice income. Um, I didn't know what might come next. So I was attached to this notion that until I know what I want to do next, I can't make a change, which is something I really learned is
Yeah.
a full fallacy sense. Um, I felt like I would be abandoning my partner
Yep.
if I jumped ship. Some part of me wanted to grow that business to something bigger in multiple locations. So I was
Yep.
hanging on to that. I mean, there were lots of parts and pieces, but at the end of the day, I didn't have the concept for what I was going to do next. Hadn't met the people. In fact, the partner in Cafe
Yep.
Exec, when I started to launch it, I wouldn't have met that person until I met them.
Yep.
And so
Yep.
if I had left Muscles for Hire, my first business earlier, so it's great to um, to look back and realize that um, what got me there got me here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you know what? I think it's really good for our listeners as well is to really I think they can identify with a lot of couple of those things that you showed up. Like we get to a comfort that it is so you want me to step out of this comfort into something unknown. And even if there might be a pull there, there's that question that shows up for all of us: Is it the right move? You know, we
Yeah,
get this that fear that says, "Yeah, but what if?" What it and it again, it doesn't mean oh always jump. It means sometimes you probably were good for not moving, and you should have held
yeah,
back, or you know. And I think, but really, what I think really this speaks to is that we're not alone. That we all go through this questioning, challenging space that says, "I got a good business." I've got a good
yeah.
partner. I've got a. I don't know what I want to do next. There's not a big pull like just I gotta go do
Mhm.
this.
Yeah.
So then why do I? You know, and then like you said, um, did you maybe leave some additional money on the table by going later? But did you pick up some additional knowledge and looking at the benefit of it? But I think that's the part I think for the listeners to know that you're not alone if you're in that position where you're getting a feeling that going maybe it's time
Yeah.
but not knowing if it is time or time to move at all. And so I think that's the part where the beautiful humanity of it, that we all
Well,
we go through these questions and challenging and saying, when is the exact right time? Yeah. So
there's three things I've learned along the way as I look back at that. One of them, when I started my first business and grew it, it was just me and my partner. And I really didn't have a community of allies and colleagues around me to get perspective, bounce ideas off of. Had never heard of a coach at that time.
yeah,
So one thing you mentioned is I went into my next business. I had begun to build a community of key relationships of mentors and respected colleagues that I could get feedback on. Had I had that earlier, that might have helped me come to a better decision point with my first business. Second thing is that I don't have to quit my day job to make a change. And at the time, it felt like sell and move or don't move.
yeah,
And what I've realized since is I can begin probing and acting and building and exploring for what's next while I'm still doing what I'm doing. As a matter of fact, that's been helpful to me now as I make the transition from a traditional coaching practice into this new model. And third, my first coach, after I sold my business, used to tell me, Kim, the instructions are in the box, not on the box. So the answers I need,
that's great. I like
what
that.
is the right next thing, are I find them in the process of diving in and being
Yeah,
engaged.
yeah,
And so
yeah.
that moving forward, not knowing is actually how I find out rather than picturing it in advance and going after it.
I like that. You know, and it's interesting. I've heard people say it before. One is like clarity as a result, not a prerequisite. I like that one.
Yeah.
And I think Peter Scott's the one who taught me that one. And then the other one is I like is clarity is a verb, not a noun. Like it's an activity of doing it. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Well, and I think what one another lesson that I think kind of I hear kind of showing up there is um, if you are doing something and something tickles your fancy, like it gives you an idea I'd like to explore, start exploring it. You don't have to jump completely off the ship you're currently on, but you can go try that. And even when people decide that they want to get in coaching, the people that say, "Oh, I still got this job," sometimes it's really good to keep it going until you know that this is what you want to do, and then you can step across versus that. And so, yeah, yeah, don't be afraid to explore. I like that. That's cool. Yep. Well, awesome. So our next segment that we have is that it's called "You Aren't Gonna Believe This," and the amazingly crazy, beautiful stories that we as entrepreneurs and business owners experience that just they knock you down with a feather, and it's almost can't believe that they happen are all over the place, and it's fun to hear. So, Kim, I'd love to hear your "You're Not Gonna Believe This" story. Take it away.
Oh, goodness. So I'm 67 years old. And what you're not going to believe is I have a 13-year-old son. Um, and the realization that happened for me midway through my coaching career after I just gotten my master's degree in my late 50s is that suddenly, if I got to the end of my life and had not been a father or at least tried, it would be a regret that I wouldn't be able to let go of. And
Interesting.
so I made a decision, having thought that wasn't going to happen for me,
Yep.
that my wife at the time and I gave it a shot, and
Yep.
it worked. So I now look like the granddad to my son, but I'm the dad. And having being a father to him at the stage I have been in life, it actually transformed my coaching business. It transformed
Hmm.
me and how I
Yep.
showed up to my clients. It just woke up this extra part of me as a father
Yep.
responsible for this new life that brought this extra power of empathy and care to my clients and my business. And people responded to me differently. So today, I feel like some people tell me look like and certainly live like a man 15 or 20 years my junior. And
Yeah. I would agree. Yeah.
having a young son has made
Yep.
that possible.
Yeah, and so many cool blessings I hear that and I'm not quite there, but I'm actually not that far away either. I'm 46 and I've got my oldest is 7 and I got a 5.
Mhm.
And so, it's interesting. I would agree so much with you. My business experience when I was younger really kind of fine-tuned a lot of my analytic skills and stuff like that too. But the ability to listen with an open heart that doesn't jump to solve a problem, but listens to it to foster the learning that they can get from the experience. Really was not nearly as developed as once you have children like that, and it is a cool thing, and it's funny. The benefits of being an older first time parent. There is some there where you're able to kind of sit back and listen in a different lens than possibly if you're younger, and a lot of different stresses that show up for that, and yeah, that's pretty cool. And I will agree with you. I agree with the public that says it. You do not look your age, and thank God you don't act it either.
There you go. Yeah. I want to be a kid for the rest of my life, no matter what
Hmm.
else I'm up to. But it's really interesting because my big surprise wasn't directly business related, but it so was impacted by. So all of the coaching
Yeah.
skills I learned, the personal work, deep work that a coach is expected to do to show up as a coach for their clients, those all became powerful parenting skills that I never
Yep.
would have had earlier in my life. Um,
Yep.
and then, as I said, the change in me in putting somebody else before myself and really investing and awakening the greatness in a new life totally changed how my business worked and how I showed up to my clients. So feeds in to the walk on wealthier wow concept, which is no part of life is separate into and of itself. It's
Yep.
all part of one life. Every aspect of my life, they all affect one another in various ways. And so I have to approach and live every area of my life as part of a whole considering everything strategically as I move forward.
Yeah, and it's almost like the texture it allows each areas of life to have, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, what a cool thing. And we all get these perspectives, and I want even people when somebody's had children that are younger, um, as a parent, as a leader in a business, there's that correlation is extremely strong, and so being able to leverage the other direction that says, to be a better leader, lean back on who you are or who you want to be as a parent, and that's probably similar to the growth that is available in both areas, right? It's interesting. What for me, um, patience is such a thing that in my younger years I didn't access real well. I was driven in a way that was pretty hard, and with my kids, there's a way to where as you work your patience through grace, there's a lot more access for patience. And
Yeah.
once I understood that through the kids, because your overwhelming love for that and go, oh, that's the ability to extend the grace actually is in front of the patience that I'm asking for, not patience and then grace. So, yeah, very cool. Yeah, it's just, I think it's just such a beautiful experience to do that. And like you said, I love how you pointed out that there's this correlation between both that people can learn from. So, let me ask this question. How does this parenting life work into that your program, the Walk on Wealthier? How does that kind of integrate itself in?
So, so one of the things I learned was, and I was just blessed, but the career I had developed working independently, choosing my clients, making my own schedule, allowed me to be so intimately involved in Chase's life,
Mm,
even before he came out of the womb of his mom.
yeah,
And have build such a relationship by investing time and love and attention. And so you notice my use of the word investing.
right. Yeah.
And I also so I learned how career choices needed to include consideration of what I want in other areas of my life.
Yep.
And my timing and approach to other areas of my life needs to consider my goals and the nature of my career. But I also realize that in whatever I'm doing, I'm always investing my attention, my time, my energy, my money, and also the relationships I pick toward creating what's important to me.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
different things have different levels of importance. And my job is to choose to invest those resources, those currencies,
Yeah.
to create what's most valuable. And I made a decision that at that time, the most valuable thing in my life was this choice to be a father.
Yeah.
And so I began taking attention, time, energy, money, relationship away from other areas of my life and investing it in my family life area. I called it an asset account
Yep.
and began to build assets in the family asset account, which is stronger family, beautiful, healthy son. And so in life, it's always a matter of I'm always investing every minute. I'm always
Yep.
investing. Right now, I'm investing. But am I consciously investing in the thing I think has the best return on investment? And if I'm not
Exactly.
consciously doing that, I have no idea if my life is
Hmm.
profiting, prospering, and growing or not. So that was a big decision on my part.
Ooh, I like that. And I think to connecting with, it's interesting. A lot of people will say, "Oh, the most, cherished asset you have is your time," and we acknowledge that, like consciously, like, "Oh, we understand what you're saying there." But I think the way that you translate it and then bring it to the comparison of investing in money, and would you invest a little bit of money on frivolous things? Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Would you invest a lot of money on frivolous things? No. And are you managing that same level of investment? And I really like that. And the other thing I think that you mentioned that really showed up for me was the investing of intention. I really thought that
Mhm.
was really kind of cool to hear that because the way that we are intentionally, we would put the intention of our time, of our attention, of our where we're focused at and where we are doing and putting that attention to, intentionally placing the intention in a way that builds asset classes and asset wealth and just the general wealth of our life.
Mhm.
From a business standpoint, I like that. I like because I can make that, right? I can access both sides of my brain that go, oh, we both understand that. So yeah.
Well, you're right, because before I developed the Walk on Wealthier model, I realized I developed a program called Career Mastery, the Career Mastery
Hmm.
program. And again, it was like at that time, all of these parts and pieces of things I learned and built with my executive clients, I was able to fit together into a model of approaching career different than most do. And I call
Yeah.
it the business of your career. So,
Yeah.
am I running my career like a CEO would run their business?
Yeah.
So bringing that whole idea of business management to career management changes the game. And now I'm expanding from there. Am I
Yeah.
running my life like I would run a business for optimal growth and expansion and value? My life as a whole, whether it's
Yeah.
social life, recreational life, spiritual life, health life, family life. There's forms of wealth in all of those areas. And if I want them to grow and prosper, I need to look at them like businesses and and build them with the same intention and skill and systematic focus.
You know what? You know what I love about what that perspective is because just being honest with myself. If you set, sometimes they say build your business like you would build your life, and people are anchoring into that. But for me, my business acumen, especially younger, was much better than my life acumen. And and I think it gives me a better grounding to start in the business and treat the holistic life like the business and understanding it through that lens because it's just where so much training, so much knowledge. I was very business inclined since I was very young, and so to be able to bridge that, I love that. And I think a lot of times, if you're working with successful executives or if we're working with successful business owners or we're working with people who understand the ins and out of the business acumen to then reflect and analyze this new business of ourselves and our own private wealth in that way. Um, I really like that bridging. I think that really works well for people. That's cool. Well, awesome. So in the transition, I love because this I think is going to really transition nicely. We talk about I wish I would have. You aren't going to believe this, and then one probably my favorite one is what is the aligned intentional language that you use? It can be quotes, it can be philosophies, it can be words that you use that really support the way you live or the way you lead or the way that you guide. What shows up for you in that world?
Well, it's a great question, first of all, Brad. And I like to start from the inside out. Like, what's the core? What's that fundamental first thing
Hmm.
that sets the stage for the next and other things that I'm going to be up to as I live my life, as I align my life? Because if I don't know a true north, how can I
Yeah.
align anything? How
Yeah.
can I navigate? So I come to realize that the most fundamental fact of my existence is that I somehow or other woke up one day as me, alive and aware in the world. God did something crazy. The universe just came together in just such a way that I found here I am. So I have life and I have awareness. That's all it starts with. Now,
Hmm.
what would I do with such an incredible gift? Well, my first thought is I will make the most of it. I will express my gratitude for this gift by fulfilling it and making the most of my life as long as I have it. So here's a fundamental human purpose that I can begin to align my choices with. And so as I begin to grow from the inside out, well, the first thing I have to do is I have to make sure my very life and awareness and capabilities mentally are developing and at their fullest. And then I have to show up in the world where the things I do align with what I think will fulfill my life.
Hmm.
And those create my values. And so I invest myself, my life, and my awareness in those values, and I grow
Yeah.
and expand it. This is the thing that's amazed me is the way things integrate and fall together as one thing. But I'm also a big lover of aphorisms, right?
Hmm.
Short, clear statements that pack a lot of understanding into one statement. And so, one of the ones that I use lately a lot is bring good to it, see good in it,
Mhm.
make good of it, become good from it, whatever it is.
Ooh,
So what's
ooh,
packed
like
into
that.
that is whatever I have done, whatever reality pops up in front of me, whether it feels good or not, whether I like it or not, whatever it is, my job is to bring good, the best of me, to that, to look for the good that's available in it, and then to act in a way that creates more good because it's that way, and
Hmm.
ultimately continue to become good or better from the whole experience,
Ooh.
accepting what is as what is. And that's my starting point. My job is to create good, wealth.
What I love about that is it takes the kind of short phrase like look for silver linings and it builds out almost an action plan. Like
Yeah.
it tells you to look, it tells you to bring, it gives you that reminder, that kind of checklist to say with whatever it is, bring,
Yeah.
look for, oh, very good. Oh, I love and that, and I think that also what I like about it is there's a forcing function or a mechanism in it that it brings you to be present because you're looking
Yes.
at it and whatever it is, and it is whatever you're in and whatever your it is right now, right?
Right.
Yep. Yeah,
Right.
because you can only do that. You can only do that it with where you currently are, not the it and the because that's all might be. That isn't it. That's
Well,
very
and then
cool.
fits in the whole shoulda, right? Because
Yeah.
whatever's happened is just are just the facts of what got me here.
Yeah.
They can never be changed. They're all now history. I can't undo reality. My coach used to say, Kim, you have to give up any hope of a better past.
Hmm.
So
Ooh,
here I
that's good.
am. It all got me here. Here's the it, whatever the universe has put in front of me.
Hmm.
My job is to embrace it,
Hmm.
whatever it feels like or whatever it looks like, and then get into the process of bringing, seeing, creating, and becoming good.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love that it what it is. Not what it was, what it will be, but what it is, and yeah. And I think too, just to keep it kind of restate one that you have to give up on hoping for a better past. I like that. I think so many of
Yeah.
us in like there's a saying I say, leave the guilt, bring the lessons. Like there's stuff that you can serve you today, keep that, hold that, love that, but let the rest of it go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a beautiful
Absolutely.
thing. Oh, well, I got to tell you this Greatness Garage. You got a great one this time. And I think these are ones where there's as I even listen to it, I'll go back and listen again and listen. There's several nuggets, Kim, that you left in there within just these small little things that can expand out. If you sit with what he said, um, there's a lot of opportunity there. So Kim, if somebody wants to go on the wow journey with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Thanks for asking, Brad. So I offer what I call a complimentary wow experience.
Hmm.
And so if you're somebody who's running a business and wanting to decide how to go next, where to go with it, and wanting your life to be as successful as your business, if you're looking at selling a business and wondering what do you want your life to look like as that all changes, um, or perhaps you're about to retire,
Yeah.
and then there's
Hmm.
those questions. This wow program is exactly what you need. And
Yeah.
so I will give you the information to put in the podcast notes so that
Awesome.
people can go into my calendar and schedule that free 45-minute wow experience, and we'll take it from there.
That sounds wonderful. Well, I'm good. Thank you, and for the serving of it, and I will encourage you all like go and explore that. And one he said that I think doesn't get enough focus is for example, I'm SUPA certified, which is a certified exit planning advisor, right? But I know how to help people kind of when they're transitioning to sell their business, and I did it because it was just interesting to me. So that's why I got the. But in the certification, there's a lot of people who serve there. And a lot of them serve in the process of business brokers, how to sell your business. There's people who are kind of value adders to the business, how to get more out of the business so you can sell it for more money. But the number one reason that a business doesn't sell is because the owner at the end gets cold feet. And the number one reason that they get cold feet is they don't know what to do next. And so if
Right.
you are in the next, I mean it, 3 to 5 to 7 years, thinking about it might be time to sell my business, reach out and do this process with Kim. Work out and know where would you go so that when it is
Yes.
time, you are simply okay with focusing on this new hobby, business, whatever life that you've created versus being stuck in the business that you don't know any to define yourself other than. So,
Yeah.
yeah, awesome.
Absolutely. Because who am I if I'm not the founder and CEO of the business I created and grew and sold? Who
Yep.
do I want
Yep.
to be instead? And how be thinking of that now, not when I suddenly leapt off the cliff and I'm falling and don't know what's below me. And what kind of life do I want to have when I have
Yeah.
all these different choices? And begin planning that now rather than all of a sudden I'm not going to work the next day and I have no idea what to do with
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah. So well said. So well
Perfect.
said. Well, everyone, you got blessed today. I got blessed today. We're all blessed and we are thankful. Thank you for your time, Kim, and your insight and your knowledge and your perspective. We appreciate it very much.
Glad to be here, Brad. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you on the next podcast. Remember, action is what makes this information all worth it. If you need help figuring out what that action is, go to callwithbrad.com and we'll get some clarity and help you figure out what that should be.